Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to the BISP Solutions. My name is Anjali. So let's start the financial planning module. So in the previous session we have seen the basics of the financial planning. Let's have a quick recap of whatever we have covered in the previous session. So in the previous session we have discussed about the financial planning topics which we are going to discuss here. These are the topics. Then after that we have seen the proper financial planning process which we normally follow, like we starting from gathering the client information, then we establish the goals and objectives. So all these process we normally follow. Then we have seen what is the financial planning, what are the objectives of financial planning, and then some more objectives. After that we have seen if we mix up the source of funds in the financial resources plus the utilization of funds, that means it will be equal to the financial plan. That means in the financial planning we are basically doing whatever the sources we have, we are just utilizing those sources, those funds where it is basically required. Sometimes for purchasing capital, investing in the capital expenditure, sometimes for the operating expenses. So all these things commonly known as a financial planning. Then after that we have seen what are the types of financial plans. So these are the types. Okay, so now in today's session we will see how we can create the financial planning application here in the EPBCS module. So let's do it. First I'll click on the create a new application. Then here I'll be giving the meaningful name, that is EPBCS, and we are basically doing here the financial planning. So let me write here financial module configuration. Then when you click on the application type, you will be having these options like the custom, free form modules, sales planning, strategic workforce, and cash forecasting. So you need to click on module because we are doing this financial planning under the EPBCS, and EPBCS option is module. So let's click here and click on next. So we'll decide the granularity. So suppose I am going to start, suppose my starting year of the application is 23 and my end year will be 35, or we can keep it simple. Let's make it for 4-5 years planning. So I'm keeping it 2030. Then my fiscal month will be January. My weekly distribution will be even distribution. 12 months will be the period frequency I am taking here. And if I want, I can click on task list. Otherwise I can keep it as simple EPM task manager. From here I'll be choosing the main currency. So I'm going to do this with the USD, United States of America dollar. Multi-currency, yes, I want to enable it. Multi-currency will usually enable when you have the following subsidiaries, like 4-5 subsidiaries, and you need to take 2 or 4 or 5 currencies together. So that in that case you can enable the option of multi-currency. Then here is the name of my input cube is plan 1, and my reporting cube will be the EPBCS. Normally the application name will itself taken by the reporting cube, but if you want you can change it. Then just click on next. So this is the preview. So make sure you just going to take all these things. If you want to change anything you can go back and change it, otherwise you can click on create. So here is the cube for input as well as the reporting cube. Let's click on create. So here we are following our first step, that is creating the application. And after the next step which we need to follow, that is enable features. Okay, so my application created successfully. Now I can directly go to the configuration part from here, or I can click on OK, so that I can show you from where you can go to the configure option. So this is the home page right now, because we have not enabled the features and we have not configured anything. That is why you can't see the option for financial planning or EPBCS. But let's see, whenever I configured or I enable the features, then you will find one thing, that is one cluster will be appearing over here for the financial planning. So let's see how we can do that. Let's click on application, click on configure. So here are multiple modules are available, which are basically in the EPBCS model, that is strategic modeling, financials, workforce, capital and projects. So let's click on financials and click on enable features. Now how we can enable features? First thing is we need to enable the revenue or gross margin, because this is a very important thing when we do the financial planning. So revenue, expenses, gross profit, gross margin, operating expenses, these are the important words you normally heard here. Similarly, we need to enable these features so that we can work accordingly. Basically we are enabling features so that we can see that application where we have collected things like not only single revenue, not only expense. We don't need to load multiple metadata twice or thrice. Everything you can just enable here, so it will be appearing over there. So when you click on enable revenue planning, use your own accounts to select the provided accounts and drivers. For more information you can click on more, so you can read whatever the information prescribed over here. So in the revenue or gross margin, I can go with the accounts as well as the drivers and related accounts. So when I click on drivers and related accounts, I am having the product and services. So either if I wish, I can click on product as well as services both, or if I want to getting my revenue from only product, so I can only enable product. So let's suppose I want to get my revenue from product as well as services, because suppose I am giving trainings also to the users. So that's the reason I am enabling both of the things. Then in the expense, enable expense planning, use your own accounts or select the provided accounts. Again, for more information you can click on more. So when I click on drivers and related accounts, they will be giving us following things like I can make here the compensation planning, marketing, sales, travel and entertainment facilities. So I can select according to my requirement. Compensation, sales and facilities I want here. Then click on income statement. So right now I have only enabled the features for the revenue, gross margin or expense. Now when I comes to the income statement, there are few more options like gross profit, contribution margin. So I can go with the additional options like simple only. Primary income statement is gross profit, but I want to have a contribution margin also, so that I can get a proper hierarchy for the gross margin, gross profit, contribution margin, everything. Again, I need to click on earning before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. Why? Because if you read this document, which is I am using as a requirement document, so here we are already having the EBITDA. So that is the reason I am using earnings before interest, tax and depreciation plus amortization. Otherwise I can make it simple also. Then one more option we have, that is separate standard and non-standard expenses. If I did not enable the earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization, so I need to create it separately. But if I am already having that option, then why is the need to create the new one? So let's click here so that we can get the EBT also. Now let's click on the balance sheet. So enable balance sheet planning, use your own accounts or select the provided accounts and drivers. Again, we need assets and liabilities both, so let's enable liability and equity. Then driver and related accounts also, because driver and related accounts are the basis for getting the accounts value exactly. Like in the previous session I have discussed about, if I am having the drivers like this, so I can get the total revenue. Similarly, I can get the total expenses, sales, expense, everything I can get with the help of drivers. And this is the beauty, here it is provided by the application, that drivers are already there. We just need to enable it. We don't need to create additional drivers, but yeah, if we want, then we can definitely create it according to our own requirement. But normally the basic drivers are provided by the application itself. That is the reason why we are using this pre-built application, right? Okay, now let's see if I enable the cash flow statement. So here we can use our own chart of accounts, but let me click on the indirect method, because I am going to use here the operating activities, investing, as well as the financing. So these activities I basically want here in my cash flow statement. Otherwise I can go with the direct accounts as well, so that I can see the sources of cash, uses of cash, non-operating cash. So this is again depending upon the requirement. Now if I want, I can enable the rolling forecast, otherwise I can make it disable itself. Weekly planning option is another option. Now here I need to map or rename dimensions. So why this option is here? Because here we can map existing dimensions, enable custom dimensions, and specify to which features each dimension applies. So basically one dimension is plan element, so this is already there. If I want, I can even rename this. Then I want the product and services, because here already we have selected for the revenue, so that is the reason I am taking it. Again, if I want, I can create one more dimension. So let's create one dimension for the customers, but again let's see the requirement document first. So if I see my data sheet, I think there is no separate dimension will be required. So let's keep it simple only, otherwise I can select it. I'm not taking any other custom dimension. Okay, one more thing, whenever you click on any dimension that is a custom dimension, you need to make it valid for revenue, expense. Okay, so product will be valid for revenue and expense only, right? You cannot see that on the balance sheet directly. So I'm only enabling the revenue and expense here for the product. And when I click on the services, again I'm enabling the revenue expense, because that will only related to the income and statement, not in the balance sheet. Now let's click on enable features. So till then the features are getting enabled. Let me show you one more thing here. So because my main objective here to show you how you can make the how you can use the member formulas in the financial planning module. So although this is already calculated here in my Excel sheet, but separately I have written some more formulas so that it will be easy to understand from where it comes. Like if I need to calculate the sales growth, so my formula should be the current year sales minus previous year sales divided by previous year sales multiplied by 100, so that I can get the sales growth ratio. Okay, and if I need to calculate the gross margin, so you all know that gross margin can be calculated with the help of gross profit and the total sales. So the gross profit will be divided by the total sales, so that I can get the gross margin. Along with this, if I need to calculate the earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization growth, that is EBITDA growth, again we need a gross profit. I want to subtract my gross profit with the sales and selling and distribution expenses, so that I can get normal earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. And if I need to calculate the ratio, so I'll be dividing that EBITDA by the sales, so I'll be getting the EBITDA percentage. Then after that I can calculate the net profit growth, dividend growth, all these things I'll separately write the formula over here. Like here you can see, if I need to calculate the retained earnings, so what is the formula for retained earnings? Retained earnings means whatever earnings left behind after current, like suppose I'm having current retained earnings. Okay, so I'll be just adding or subtracting the net profit or loss. Then after that, whatever the dividends I need to pay, that will also subtracted from my normal earnings. So I'll be getting the retained earnings. So accordingly I'll be creating the member formula in my application, and all these things which are already available, visible here, like the sales expenses, percentage of sales, depreciation, percentage of sales. So one thing is for sure, you need to write the formula here in the Excel first, just validate here separately, and after that use a member formula. Otherwise there may be some issues arise after creating the formula. If the formula is not correct here and you are not getting the calculation, so how you can validate the data? So first everything just write here in the Excel sheet, then come here in the application and use your knowledge there. So now the financial functionality that we have selected was successfully enabled. So before you can use these features, they're normally asking us to sign out and sign in again. So let's do that. Still it is not available, right? So let me just sign out and sign in again. So if you are already having a user created in your application, just log in with your user credentials. Now let's see, this cluster is available for the financials. But, earlier we cannot see this financial cluster, right? But right now, as we have just enabled all the features, we are getting this option. So when I click on the financials, I'm having the revenue, expense, balance sheet, cash flow and analysis. Okay, and for more details we need to do following things, like after creation of application and after enable features. We have done all the two things. Now the next thing is we need to make the configuration. So how we can do that? Let's do. Let's again click on the configure under the application. You'll be getting this option. So now the important thing is we need to set the time frame and granularity for plans, right? So let's click here on the planning and forecast preparation, so that we can give the instruction to the application that what is my current fiscal year, what is the current period, what is my plan start year. Accordingly the planning took place. Okay, so let's suppose my current fiscal year is 24 itself. My plan I want to take here is November, and my current fiscal year, I can start the plan with the current fiscal year or from the next fiscal year, that means from financial year 25. Let's choose current fiscal year itself, so that we can see the planning will be start from this November or December only. Okay, because we have already specified the period also. Now one more thing, you can choose your forecast or plan preparation according to this. Like suppose I want to do the forecasting, I want to make the planning monthly 2 years, then after that I want to do it quarterly and maybe yearly also. So I can keep it as it is, otherwise I can keep it simply monthly only. So this is again up to our own choice or the requirement, we can select it. So 4 years planning we are doing here, that is from financial year 24 to December, financial year 27 December, period is January to December. Now let's click on the forecast. So 2 years forecasting will take place here, and that too I want monthly. And when I click on the rolling forecast, so again it will be asking that do you want to make the planning frequency monthly or quarterly. So yes, we want monthly. Number of periods, so we can do the rolling forecast for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, for 30 months, 36 months, 48 months or 60 months. This is the time frame, we can choose accordingly. So let's do it for 18 months. So accordingly my period range will be selected for the rolling forecast, and here I can choose the number of actual periods. Now let's click on save. Let's choose the actual periods 5. Okay, now here is one warning before saving, that changing current year will reflect in all business process. So do you want to proceed? If I want, then yes, definitely I'll click on OK. So accordingly my planning will take place, right? According to my current fiscal year, my period and my plan start year. So yes, it is configured, and if I want, I can click on action and I can change the status. So let's make it configured. Now after planning and forecast preparation, there are some more things where we can load the metadata for the revenue accounts, for the expense accounts, for the balance sheet and cash flow accounts, as well as for entities, products, services. These are my custom dimensions, as well as after that we can see the global assumptions. So when I click on the revenue accounts, okay, now the new thing which you need to learn here, that is, because we have enabled the features for the revenue accounts, that is the reason you are getting these options. Otherwise you need to load the metadata for this revenue account also. So the service revenue, the gross profit, the revenue KPIs, the income statement KPIs, the cost of sales and the product revenue, everything I'm having these options. Like if I need to calculate my service revenue on the basis of service hours as well as rate, like here, let me explain you one example. Okay, suppose I need to calculate my revenue on the basis of services, like trainings I'm giving to the users or to the learners. Okay, so it could be number of sessions multiplied by training hours, or sorry, number of training hours multiplied by training cost. Suppose the training hours are 3 hours training I'm giving, and my training cost is normally 15,000. So 3 multiplied by 15,000, that means my training cost will be 45,000. Okay, so similarly I can add some more drivers in the category, but right now there is service hours and service rate is available. So if I later on also I want to add some more drivers, so I can add it. Otherwise I can even import the batch file also. So it's totally again depending upon the requirement. If I want, I can just keep it simple, like service hours multiplied by service rate. So again, one story will be required for doing this. If I'm already having the story like the training hours and all, so I can take that. Otherwise I can use the same thing. So let's suppose I want to add training sessions. I'm going to calculate my revenue on the basis of the total training sessions multiplied by training rate. Okay, so training session is one driver. Side by side I'll be framing the story accordingly. Again, you can refer your document to get this, because here is the main thing which we need to follow, which we need to basically calculate here, that is my sales growth. So I can take anything here. I'm writing here the story. So suppose I want to calculate the service revenue. Basically I'm giving training to the learners. So my revenue will generate on the basis of these drivers, the training sessions multiplied by cost per session. Okay, suppose my normally I am taking the per session cost is 15,000 and there are normally 30 sessions. Okay, so I know that this is too much, but for the sake of creating an illustration I am doing that. So accordingly, if I want to take only 5 sessions, so my cost will be 5 multiplied by 15,000. So accordingly I will be getting the revenue. Okay, so let's use the same drivers here also. Training sessions, copy the same and paste in the alias. Okay, in the alias I am not using the underscore. Here I can change the time balance property, but yes, I want to make it flow. The data storage property is store only, and then click on save. Then after that I want to add one more option, that is cost per session. Okay, I can add some more variations also, right? Like the discount, the returns, or anything else. So this will be my training sessions multiplied by cost per session, and accordingly I'm getting the calculations over here. And one more thing, that is number of training session. I'm not using any underscore here. So this will be my driver. So let's write the same format. Number of training session, then cost per session, then training sessions. Now suppose my number of training sessions are 5, cost per session is 15,000. So what will be the, and the total training sessions are 15. So here basically my training session will be total training cost will be calculated on the basis of number of training session multiplied by cost per session. Okay, so this will be my total training cost. So accordingly we can calculate some more service revenue, but right now I just only want this. Now again click on the revenue drivers, and from here I can create the product revenue drivers also. So right now the available drivers are like this like the volume, the average selling price, the discount percentage, as well as the return percentage. So these are my currently drivers, but if I want I can change according to my story. So what I can take here, rather than volume I can use the number of units or the average selling price. So I can use the rate, then discount percentage and return percent. So although I can make some changes here, but again my final purpose is to calculate the ratios. So if I want I can make it, keep it simple only, but let's add, so that you can learn how you can add the drivers also. So the number of units, or if you have some other interesting story, then you can definitely add your own drivers. You can also write in the comment comment section that what are the drivers I can use here, so that I can make my revenue more interesting, right? So number of sessions or number of units. Okay, I'm not using any underscore here in the aliases. Okay, let's make it flow itself. The data storage property is stored and the data type is non-currency. One more, let's add number of units will be calculated on the basis of rate per unit. Okay, so my discounts and the return is already there, so I don't think so that I need to add this separately. Okay, let's keep it simple again. Again click on the revenue accounts, and now you need to see the gross profit components also. So the total revenue components for the gross profit are this: the product revenue, service revenue, the support revenue, other revenue, adjustment to revenue. These are the available ones. If I want I can add it once again. Then click on the total cost of sales. So my total cost of sales will be calculating on the basis of the labor expense, material, overhead, freight and other cost of sales. Okay, now side by side click on save also. Okay, now let's see what are the revenue KPIs we have. So revenue KPIs are the key performance indicators, basically on the basis of these performance indicators we are basically getting the calculations what we exactly want. So revenue per employee, cost of sales to revenue percentage, margin percentage, contribution margin percentage. So here I can add some more ratios for the revenue KPI, like suppose I need to add sales growth percentage. Somebody has deleted the application. So what all we have done so far, we need to do it once again. So no issues, I'll showing you in this Excel story. You can calculate by your own. At least we have seen how you can enable the features, right? And from the configuration you need to do further more things, because if I'm going to create right now the application, so the whole things which we have done we need to do it once again. So let's learn in the Excel itself. So like there in the revenue KPIs already there are some KPIs are available. Similarly we'll add in the sales growth percentage, the gross margin percentage, what all we need to calculate I am taking there itself. EBITDA growth, EBIT growth, net profit growth, dividend growth, these things we want to calculate. Or one more thing you can do, if you don't want to write one member separately, so you can just create a CSV file. You can export the format and then you can rebuild your file accordingly. You can just import back to the application. So all these things you can take it in your file also. So in the next session I'll show you the prepared file for all these things, and then we'll calculate the further things. So these things which we're going to calculate there, we'll add from the configuration, and then after that when everything is done, when we set the user preferences, user variables, the next thing is we'll write the member formulas one by one. Okay, and after that we'll load some data. We can use the sample data also, and we can load with the help of data file. The CSV file should be there. So once we load the data, then we can see the calculations, like how the calculation available to us, and we can do the data validation with the Excel sheet. So now once again, because time is already there, so we can repeat the process once again what we have done so far. We have seen the proper requirement is already with us, handy with us. So gathering the requirement from client is the very first thing. Then after that we understand the whole scenario first in the Excel sheet, so that we can have an idea. This is my style. If you want, you can change, like you can directly do everything in your documents itself. Then after that, when I see like how my calculations will be done in the Excel, then I create the application, then I enable the features, then I make changes in the configuration, load metadata, load data. So data can again be loaded with the help of manual data load. If there is a sample data load, then I can use the smart way also, right? Okay, and I can use APM automation, data management, bulk method, classic method, any method. Then after that, set the user variables and user preferences, so that we can give a proper intersection to the application. So intersection for the dimensional members, which we are going to use here for the sake of calculation. Point of view also you can see this. Okay, so here are some predefined forms like the driver based planning, trend based planning, manual data input form, balance sheet, income statement, cash flow. So on the basis of all these things, we will see the calculation. Already there are some business rules available, but in our case study we are going to follow the member formulas, and on the basis of that we will be getting the calculation for the driver based planning. Okay, the rest for the trend based planning, there are some predefined business rules, but if you want, again you can add your own business rules. So I guess everything is cleared. Now somebody has been loaded here vision application. Okay, no issues. In the next session I will show you everything, I think, or we can use any other instance, but I need to recreate everything, so you need to wait for that. Because I have shown everything very clearly, so let's do it quickly. Also, we can do one more thing. In the next session, I'll be prepared with my application, and till now the configuration we have seen, I'll be already doing that, and after that we will see the next thing which we need to do here in the application configuration. We'll make changes accordingly. Okay. So I hope it is clear till now everything which we are going to follow here in the financial planning module. And in the next session I will show you like after configuration you need to click on the tools, so that directly from here, from the user preferences, you will be selecting everything. Because maybe we will create the application and somebody will be deleted from here, so this will be the loss of time. So let's do it in the tomorrow's session. So till then, let's close this session from here only. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye.